I want to give a special shout out to all my patrons first. Thank you so much to my Bibliospren, Bibliohowlers, and my Bibliomancers. It means a lot to me that you give me your extra support for my passion and hobby. Hi everyone, Patrick here. Today's video will be SFF Spotlight episode 60. I got some messages a few days ago asking when the new SFF Spotlight episode will be out, and it is out today. Thank you so much for the interest. It always makes me happy seeing that many people are interested in watching SFF Spotlight videos, a series of videos where I talk about new cover reveals, new book news, also new special edition, new Kickstarter campaign, and new release in the science fiction and fantasy genre. And because in today's video I have only two new novelty releases that I want to spotlight today, let me begin by talking about them first. The first one is an urban fantasy release from today's SFF Spotlight episode sponsor, Podium Audio. This is an audiobook release narrated by R.C. Bray, and the title of the book is Recon, the fourth book in the Convergence series by Craig Alanson. Most readers would know Craig Alanson from his work on the 16-book space opera series, Expeditionary Force. Since the conclusion of the successful space opera series, Craig Alanson has been working on an urban fantasy series that reminded me of the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, an urban fantasy series I really enjoy. The title of that series is Convergence. The story in Convergence centers around Casimir Wolf, or Cas, the world's only wizard. But he does not use a wand or a sword. His weapon is a gun. He is accompanied by a talking dog named Duke, who is secretly inhabited by the spirit of 3,000-year-old wizard from Babylon. The truth is, Cas is not much of a wizard because there's not much magic in the world for him to work with. But there used to be magic, and magic is coming back as the world converges with the Nether, unless Cas can stop it. That's essentially the premise of the first book, Convergence. And today, after Convergence Dragon Slayer and Convergence First Strike, the fourth book in the series, Convergence Recon, is out now. All the cover art in the series is illustrated by Chris McGrath, the same artist who illustrated the cover art of the Dresden Files as well. So if you are in need of another fun and entertaining urban fantasy, check out Convergence by Craig Alanson. You can click the link in the description down below to be directed to the audiobook. Thank you so much to Podium Audio for sponsoring today's video and also this episode of SFF Spotlight. And then let's move forward to the next release that I want to spotlight. This is on Kavithri by Aman J. Bedi. I haven't read this book yet, and so far there hasn't been a lot of ratings and reviews for Kavithri, a South Asian-inspired epic fantasy debut from Aman J. Bedi. As I said, I have been looking forward to reading this debut novel ever since I did the cover reveal for it a few months ago. I think it was last year, actually, the end of last year. And ever since then, I've been interested in giving myself a treat toward this South Asian-inspired fantasy debut, especially because the author has mentioned that so many things that are considered to be some of my favorite stories of all time are part of his major inspiration into Kavithri, such as Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then Berserk by Kentaro Miura, Kaladin from the Stormlight Archive, and also Malazan, Book of the Fallen, and many more. I think I will be reading Kavithri next month, in the month of June, but if you are interested in giving yourself a read toward this epic fantasy debut, South Asian-inspired epic fantasy debut, the book is out now and you can definitely pick it up in your bookstores. And that's it really for the noteworthy release. However, I still have one more soon-to-be released book that I want to spotlight, and it is Song of the Mysteries by Janny Wurts. Yes, this is the 11th and the final book in the Wars of Light and Shadow series, a series 50 years in the making. This is an epic fantasy conclusion to an epic fantasy series that has been hailed as one of the greatest fantasy series of all time. But at the same time, it feels like compared to series like Malazan, Book of the Fallen, or The Wheel of Time, or Brandon Sanderson's books, or Ted Williams' books, this series is very, very under the radar, and not too many people, relatively speaking, talk about this book or this series. And well, I've been talking about this series. I think I have this Wars of Light and Shadow series in my TBR pile since the year 2018 or 2019. And ever since then, I've been delaying myself from reading Wars of Light and Shadow because I always want to make sure that I'm in the right reading mood. And now I am. I will be reading Curse of the Mistwraith most likely within this week. Curse of the Mistwraith is the first book in Wars of Light and Shadow. But yeah, if you are in the UK, some of the mysteries will be out within this week, and then next week it will be out in the USA. If you're a fan of the series, do let me know what you think about Wars of Light and Shadow, and what are the things that you really love about the series. I know that I am a huge fan of Rift War Empire trilogy, written by Raymond E. Weiss and Janny Wurts, and ever since I read that incredible trilogy, I have been looking forward to reading Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wurts, her magnum opus. But that's it on the topic of new release. Now let's move on to talk about new book news. The first one is about The Great Empire by Richard Swan. This is the first book in the Great Silence trilogy, and this series, it will take place 200 years after the end of Empire of the Wolf trilogy. Yeah, this book and this series, it takes place in the same world as Justice Conrad von Wald and also Helena Sedanka in Empire of the Wolf trilogy. But because it has been 200 years, then I do not think we will be seeing Justice Conrad von Wald, Helena Sedanka, and most of the characters from Empire of the Wolf trilogy. I really liked that trilogy, especially the first two books. I felt a bit mixed about the third book, even though I still liked it overall. But yeah, overall, I think the Empire of the Wolf trilogy is a great modern fantasy trilogy, and I do highly recommend it if you want to read a compelling and fast-paced trilogy. I look forward to reading The Great Empire when it's out in the year 2025. Here is an excerpt from the premise. Blood once turned the wheels of empire. Now it is money. A new age of exploration and innovation has dawned, and the Empire of the Wolf stands to take its place as the foremost power in the known world. Glory and riches await. I am hoping that the cover art will once again be illustrated by Martina Fackova. She did such a fantastic job with the cover art of Empire of the Wolf trilogy. But moving on to the next one, this is another new book news, and this is for the conclusion to the Talon duology by Jan Williams. The title of the book is Titanchild, and the cover art is illustrated and designed by Julia Lloyd. I enjoyed reading The Talon Sister, and as I said, Titanchild will conclude the Talon duology. This book is slated to be released in November 2024, so within this year. I think I will be reading it immediately once the book is out. That's my plan anyway, because the conclusion to Talon Sister was so pulse-pounding, and I really love how it ended, even though it did took me some time, like half of the book, for me to start feeling truly immersed in the narrative crafted by Jan Williams. But I think because everything has been established in Talon Sister, I think Titanchild will be a satisfying conclusion to the Talon duology, especially if I'm judging based on how the Poison Song, that's the third book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy, ended. It was so satisfying, and I love that trilogy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading The Titanchild. And the next news that I want to spotlight, this is not technically a new book, but this is for Dungeon Crawler Carl, the traditionally published edition. And the cover art, the new cover art for the traditionally published edition, it is illustrated by Will Still. And it is very different compared to the cover art of the Indie Fantasy edition. I personally love the Indie Fantasy edition more, but at the same time, I've been hearing so many amazing things about this lit RPG series, and I think I'll be reading this sooner than I expected. Originally, I wanted to wait for the Kickstarter book, the Kickstarter hardcover book, to arrive first, but it might be taking a while before that arrives, so we'll see. We'll see whether I will end up waiting for that or will read it immediately, because I do own the entire series on my Kindle already. But yeah, Daniel Green and also so many reviewers have praised this series incredibly highly, and I look forward to reading this series. And then the last new book announcement that I want to spotlight today, this is from Fonda Lee. Well, to be more precise, this is co-written together with the daughter of Bruce Lee, Shannon Lee. And the title of the book is Breath of the Dragon, and this will be released in February 2025. I think the cover art looks absolutely gorgeous. The cover art is done by Crusader Weasley, and I love this cover art very much. I, as a fan of Fonda Lee, will definitely make sure to get myself a hardcover edition of Breath of the Dragon. This is supposedly a fantasy series based on characters and teachings created by Bruce Lee. 16-year-old June dreams of proving his worth as a warrior in the Elite Guardians tournament, held every 6 years to entrust the magical scroll of Earth to a new protector. Eager to prove his skills, June hopes that a win will restore his father's honor, righting a horrible mistake that caused their banishment from his home, mother, and twin brother. I know that Rob J. Hayes has the chance to read and review this book early, and he said it is awesome. But for me, I will have to wait until January 2025. I think it is slated to be released in early January 2025. But this is not the only Fonda news that I will spotlight today, because this episode, it will contain two more Fonda big news. And the next one, this is an art reveal, the next art reveal on the Subterranean press edition of Jade City, illustrated by Micah Epstein. And this is actually an illustration of Gone Ash. And I know for those of you who are fan of the series, you might be wondering the same thing as me. Why is there a long hair planted on Gone Ash? I'm confused about this myself, and at the same time, Hilo is bald. I feel like this is mixed up. Hilo should have a bit of a longer hair, and also Gone Ash, as stated in the book multiple times, is supposed to be bald. But you know what? This is artist interpretation, but I do know one thing. This artwork by Micah Epstein, they all look beautiful, whether it is these two interior artwork or this interior artwork of Vanden or the cover art with Lan in the front cover. Everything looks absolutely gorgeous, and I hope I will be able to get myself a copy of the Subterranean press edition. And I know this will be very limited. Not a lot of people will be able to acquire a copy of Jade City Subterranean press edition. But thankfully, the next big news and the last news about Greenbone Saga by Fonda is that this is the next subscription from the Broken Binding. Yes, for the month of July until the month of September, the books will be Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. And I have the honor and privilege to work on this as the art director. I cannot wait for you all to see the cover art and also the end paper artwork that we have worked on. I think the result is beautiful, and I have tried my best to make sure the details, I and the artist have tried our best to make sure the details are as accurate as possible, because this is my favorite trilogy of all time. Not only that, I want fans to be happy, but I also want myself to be happy with the result. But anyway, there will be more details to come. I hope many of you are excited about this as well. I've been working on this project, still working on it, actually for I think 6 months now, or 5 months. More details to come for sure. And the next one that I want to spotlight, this is again from the Broken Binding, and this is for the special edition of Deadhouse Gates by Stephen Erikson, the second book in Malazan Book of the Fallen. The front and paper, illustrated by Randy Vargas, is out now. It has been revealed, and I think the result is absolutely gorgeous. And you know, when we work on this one, this was work on pretty much within a week, if I'm not mistaken, a week to actually finish the artwork before we have to submit the artwork to the publisher. So it was a really tight deadline. And with that in mind, I do think that the result is still absolutely incredible. Randy Vargas did an excellent job. However, we did receive some comments regarding the details of the weapon held by Leoman here. This was supposed to be a fail, and as I said, because this was on the last day of the submission, I did not really pay attention to the missing chain from the weapon. Thankfully, we managed to fix this because this is just a small detail fix, and the publisher has approved this fix. So this is the final result of the front and paper of Deadhouse Gates. And on Friday, if you are on Twitter or on Instagram, you will be able to see the second end paper of Deadhouse Gates. Not much more art to reveal here. We only have 2 more fully colored artwork to reveal. So by next week, you will have seen every artwork in Malazan Book of the Fallen, the Broken Binding edition, for the first 3 books. But that's it for the Broken Binding section. Let's move on to talk about this cover art. This cover art is for a special edition of Prince of Fools by Mark Lawrence, and this is illustrated by Jason Chan. This is published by Grim Oak Press. Not too many details yet about this edition. I know that it will contain all the interior illustrations from the omnibus edition of Red Queen's War Trilogy, Grim Oak Press edition, except that they are fully colored now, with possibly a few more addition interior illustrations, I think. But there are not too many details about this yet. I do really like the cover art though. Jason Chan has never done any mistake when it comes to illustrating for Mark Lawrence books or any cover art, really. I love Jason Chan's artwork very much. And then let's move on to this beautiful edition of Shadow's Linger by Glen Cook, Midworld Press edition. This is the sequel to The Black Company. Again, Midworld Press is for a fine press edition. their price is relatively affordable. And this is just like the Black Company, the price will be $100 US. Though I think the Black Company was priced at $90 US. But this one, the cover art and also the interior illustrations, all of them are illustrated by Didier Graffet, a legendary artist in the fantasy and sci-fi genre as well. I mean, just take a look at this cover art and interior artwork. They all look absolutely beautiful in my opinion. But yeah, as I said multiple times, I'm a fan of the first 3 books in Chronicles of the Black Company, especially Shadow's Linger. But I am not too much of a fan of the books after the first 3 books in Chronicles of the Black Company by Glen Cook. But if you are a fan of Glen Cook's books, especially this series, I think Midworld Press is the way to go if you want to own a fine press edition of the series, because yeah, they look beautiful, and compared to many other fine press publishers, their price, as I said, is relatively affordable, because usually this kind of fine press treatment, it will probably cost at least $150 US or sometimes even more. And this book, this edition will come with a Smithson binding, high grade quality paper, acid-free paper of course, and also pretty much high quality production all around. And moving on to the final special edition I want to spotlight today, this is just a big May update from Curious King. Every monthly update from Curious King always makes me happy. I've talked about this, even though it is most likely impossible for me to own every edition published by Curious King because they are expensive. But at the same time, because I do own the Blade itself Curious King edition, I am not surprised why it is so expensive, because this is done in letterpress production. But anyway, the May update lists a lot of great things to come from Curious King, whether it's the shipping of the 5th season, and then the update on Legends by David Gemmell, and of course Hyperion by Dan Simmons, their edition of Hyperion by Dan Simmons, and more to come, such as Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy and also Before They Are Hanged by J.O. Abercrombie. If you are interested in hearing all the details, I have attached a link to the blog post in the description down below. But as I said, even though I cannot afford every book published by Curious King, I love seeing the passion that the creator put into the production of his books. It is always good to see people being passionate about books, stories, and book production. But that's it on the topic of special edition. On the topic of Kickstarter campaign, I only have one Kickstarter campaign to spotlight today, and it is not live yet. This is just a tease from Ryan Cahill on the Tarot Card edition, Tarot Card collection of The Bound and the Broken, and he has revealed the artwork to Chariot, the Tarot Card Chariot, and I have the honor of seeing some of the artworks in progress, and they are all so beautiful. I think many fans of The Bound and the Broken will be, they will want to get this tarot card collection. I will let you know once I hear more details about when the Kickstarter campaign is going live for this. And now we move on to the final section of SFF Spotlight. And surprisingly, today I'll be talking about five TV show or movie production related. And the first one is of course about House of the Dragon Season 2. The final trailer for House of the Dragon Season 2 is available to watch now on YouTube, and I am super excited to watch it. Here's hoping that this one will be even better than Season 1. I think there's a really good chance it will be better than Season 1 because this is the dance of the dragons. It is time, and I look forward to watching it. I have no idea whether I will do a second watch of the first season first or not, but either way, I'm so excited to be watching this. But this is not the only news. Apparently, this episode of SFF Spotlight will contain a lot of updates on some big fantasy or sci-fi movie or TV show projects. And the next one is about the second season of Rings of Power. I find it really odd and also quite funny that both the second season of Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, the trailer premiere on exactly the same day. I am, however, more excited for House of the Dragon than Rings of Power. But do let me know what you think about this. I was massively disappointed with Season 1 of Rings of Power, even though it has incredible production, but I think that's really it. Only the production is on a very high quality. But again, that's my opinion. And that's not all. The teaser for Dune Prophecy is out now. I think this one will be a mini-series or maybe a TV show with multiple seasons, and it will take place 10,000 years before the birth of Paul Atreides. So yeah, this is 10,000 years before the events of Dune. I'm not sure whether this is actually adapted from the books or not. Maybe it is adapted from one of the many books written by Kevin Anderson and also Brian Herbert. But let me know whether you are excited about Dune Prophecy or not. As a fan of Dune movies, of course, I'm excited about this, but I will keep my fingers crossed and not raise my expectations too high because I don't know, maybe this will end up sucking. And my same expectation will be applied to Three Body Problem. Season 2 has been announced to be the concluding season of the Three Body Problem TV show. This is not the Chinese adaptation, but this is the one published by Netflix. I haven't actually watched the first season of Three Body Problem. I am a fan of the books though, especially the second book. Dark Forest, in my opinion, is one of the greatest sci-fi novels of all time. I absolutely love that book. And I don't honestly know how the producer will be able to actually conclude the three books in the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy in 2 seasons. I do not think that is possible, so maybe the second season will be even more disappointing than the first one, assuming that I don't end up enjoying the first season. I think I would try to watch it as soon as possible. I've been missing the series quite a lot lately. Either I will watch the first season or I will do a second read of Remembrance of Earth's Past. It has been a few years, or plenty of years since I read that trilogy. I think I read the trilogy in the year 2017. So that's 7 years since I read the trilogy for the first time. But anyway, moving on to the last topic and the last thing to spotlight in today's episode. This is about Shogun. Shogun by James Clavell adaptation. Except that this is about, well, it is happening. The second and third season of Shogun is happening, which is a surprise because Hiroyuki Sanada and also, well, the producer has mentioned multiple times before that they have no plan on producing the second and third season of Shogun because they have adapted all the books. The material of the books have been fully adapted, and personally speaking, I think it is one of the greatest TV show. I love the miniseries so much, but now it has become a television show, and well, I'm not sure whether it will end up being that good again, because this is covering something that is not from the original text anymore. I do hope they will be great, but I will be cautioned about it, especially because the first season, as I said, it was so brilliant. I think it is the best show that I have watched this year so far. Either that or For All Mankind Season 3. But yeah, that's it on today's episode of SFF Spotlight. That's, I think, about 20 topics. As always, do let me know what you think about the news that I spotlighted today. Feel free to let me know your opinion on the comment section down below. As always, thank you so much for watching and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.